Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. This is our second quarterly membership meeting. We have all of our department chairs and specialists on with us today to give you a quick update on one hot topic, maybe two, in their department. We wanted to let you know this is recorded, so you can go back and watch that later if you'd like. And we'll break it down into sections so that you can, if you want to just watch something about IOD, you could go fast forward to that section. You can submit questions today during the town hall. And Josh, I'm going to have you walk through how they can submit their questions, if that's okay.
Sure. From your device that you joined on, you might be on a web browser, you might be on your phone on the Teams app. However you're joined, there's a little Q&A bubble. You'll just click on that and you can submit questions by tapping on that, type in your question, send it in, and we'll address it during the meeting.
Yep. So we'll probably get to the questions at the very end of the meeting because we want to make sure we get through all of the departments. And so you'll have the entire meeting to be able to submit those questions. So let's get started. We got a lot of information to get through today, and we're going to start off with Paul Hartshorn, who is our communications chair. Paul, take it away.
Hi, everybody. Paul Hartshorn, Communications Department, Philadelphia-based flight attendant. Thanks for joining us today. I just wanted to quickly show you on the website where you're able to locate these town halls after the fact. We actually have them all on a page within the Communications Department page. And there's a number of different types of town halls that you can view, everything from retirement to negotiations to PBS and reserve bidding help, reserve survival tools, things of that nature. So once you're on the website, you can just click on either at the very top departments and communications. Once you go to that home page, you will see, you can scroll down and you'll see a link just for the APFA town halls. And again, once you're on that page, it'll bring you to all the town halls we currently have posted. There's over 20 that are on there right now for you. And then if you scroll on the top of that bar right there, you can find specific town halls that meet your needs, PBS, reserve, negotiations, retirement, and also specific base town halls are up there as well. So once this is recorded, it takes us a little while to edit it, and then we'll get it up there for you to view later, or for colleagues who may have missed it. And as Julie and Josh said, we'll try to break that down for you too, so you can skip from topic to topic. So thank you and welcome, everybody.
Thank you, Paul. Okay, first department up after Paul is Government Affairs, and we have Ali Malice on with us today and Lori Vito-Gottlieb.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ali Malice.
And I'm Lori Vito-Gottlieb, DCA-based flight attendant.
We are the APFA National Government Affairs Specialists. There is always a lot happening in Washington that affects flight attendants because we work in a highly regulated industry. FARs, yes, those are made in Washington. That's why it's critically important that APFA has a presence on Capitol Hill where decisions are made. So Lori and I work on building relationships with members of Congress to share the flight attendant perspective and even educate lawmakers about our profession. So we wanted to give you a little taste of some of the bills that have been introduced this session so you can see how many ways that legislation impacts our job.
There are bills that prevent and address the following: fume events, establish a federal no-fly list, address sexual assault in flight, gives the right to express milk at work.
And we also have bills that promote fair competition with foreign carriers, protect high labor standards, increase diversity in the aviation industry, FAA oversight on foreign maintenance stations, health subsidies for PBGC pension holders. There's a whole lot of things that can help us legislatively. So that's why we stay really involved. And in 2023, there will be a big bill called the FAA reauthorization bill. So keep that one in mind because there's an opportunity to get lots of flight attendant priorities included and passed. And we are even working on that now.
And not only do Ali and I work on federal level, but we're also watching state level. It's really important that we keep abreast of what's going on in the states because they're also addressing unemployment, IODs, and If anybody is interested in working at government affairs, please reach out to your base president because we always need the help to track legislation on the state level.
Perfect. On to elections. So mark your calendars. The 2022 midterm election is November 8th. All members of Congress are up for re-election and a third of our senators. And it's a non-presidential year, so turnout is historically lower, which is why it's so important that you get out and vote this year. So the first thing you can do right here, right now, is check your voter registration status. Make sure you change it if you've moved, keep your information up to date. www.vote.org can't be more simple than that. Check when your state's holding its primary election and get familiar with your ballot. Flight attendants have opinions, right? So take a peek at what your candidates stand for and cast your ballot accordingly. And definitely make a plan to vote ahead of time. The nature of our job often prevents us from voting on election day. And just a few years ago, I was flying a quick turn that turned into a 2-day trip, and I missed voting in my primary election. So don't let that happen to you. Take advantage of early voting. And remember that elections are not just about who we elect, but it's about who those people appoint, whether they're judges, whether they determine voter laws or redistricting. So that's why it's so important that you participate in the voting process. And by the way, voting is fun, so get out there and vote. And now I will turn it to Lori for the PAC.
So APFA Political Action Committee, it's called the APFA PAC, is important. It gives the APFA access to promote our profession on Capitol Hill. We are a bipartisan PAC, so we support both sides of the aisles, Democrats and Republicans. Dues money is never used in the political arena, and the APFA PAC is a separate fund and voluntary. You can give as little as $1, $5, or even more. This would really help our PAC fund. To sign up, go to apfa.org/PAC and sign up now. This will help APFA fight for flight attendant issues.
An APFA might not have the corporate budget that, say, American Airlines has, but what we do have is 25,000 members, and that's really where our strength lies. So when we all pitch in just a little, we can go up against those powerhouses. So thanks in advance for your participation in the PAC.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lori and Allie. And you're right. We definitely saw in the last 2 years the power of our voices, right? When all 25,000 of us were out there fighting for PSP, along with all the other unions out there and union members, we were able to achieve that. So thank you for bringing that up. Great presentation. Let's move on. We're moving on to our health department. And Kathy Sharp was not able to be with us today, but we have Haley Brewer with us today, who is one of our health reps.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to try to keep this condensed but informative because Absence Tracker is new. Most of you guys are probably aware at this point that the company has moved to a new online application for processing leaves, which is i.e. Absence Tracker. It's a much more simplified process for flight attendants, but likely a bit of a learning curve with anything new. So one important thing to note about Absence Tracker, and we're getting tons of calls about this. So it's important to know that you're not required to create a case within Absence Tracker unless you've been absent for 21 days or more. There is that contractual requirement that we have to update the company once we've been absent for a consistent absence of 21 days or more. So there would really only be 3 reasons why we would go to Absence Tracker to create a case. Either we're wanting to request FMLA, we've been absent for that 21-day stretch or more, or we're needing to update the company about an upcoming leave status like maternity leave. So the company is now utilizing their right to require flight attendants to go through the FMLA process when using Absence Tracker. So just want to make sure that no one is surprised. I think everyone's mostly informed at this point, but I wanted to make sure it was mentioned here on this platform. So I know Josh is going to share his screen so that we can show you guys how to find Absence Tracker within JetNet, as well as resources on how to utilize Absence Tracker, create your case, so on and so forth. So, okay, so Josh is signed into his JetNet, and the first thing you're going to do is navigate yourself to the Team Member Services tab across the top. From here, you're going to select Leaves and Returns, the second one there. And then from here, before we go into the flight service folder, Josh, do you mind scrolling all the way to the bottom so I can just show the additional resources? So right here under additional resources, it's actually a drop-down menu. Josh is showing you guys right now. There is step-by-step information on how to create your case within Absence Tracker, how to check the status of your case within Absence Tracker, so on and so forth. The video walkthrough is very informative. So if you're getting into Absence Tracker feeling like you have some additional questions, you can come here. Scroll to the top and we can show them just how to get into Absence Tracker. So from this point, if you know what you're doing, don't need a resource, you can click on the flight service folder right here. Okay, so as you can see, we're in Josh's personal absence tracker right here. So this is going to take you to the landing page for your personal absence tracker. This is where you'll come to create your case. You'll come back here in order to upload any of your medical information, any documentation that's necessary. And you'll also come here to check the status of your case and so on and so forth. So Josh, we can now go over to the screenshots that we retained from Kathy's slideshow. I just want to show you guys from the slideshow that Kathy prepared, since we don't actually have a physical case to show you guys because we're just mimicking what Josh has available on his screen. Can we go on to the next one, Josh? I'm sorry to put you out of order there. So once you've gone in and created your own personal case with an absence tracker, you're going to set the rubric for yourself, obviously all of your personal employee information as well as the date range. And then within 5 to 10 minutes, it should populate these drop downs here under view attachments. So this is where you're going to find the healthcare provider form. That is ultimately the form that we'll be printing out to take to our doctors if we, again, need FMLA or we're past that 21-day mark and the company is requesting medical substantiation from us. If we need our return to work form, it's also going to be here. So just think any paperwork related to your leave, you're going to be able to find under view attachments. One other thing to note is that you can find the paperwork in your mail. So the company is going to, once you create your case, just send you a mail piece of all of the necessary documentation. So again, that healthcare provider form, return to work form, eligibility packet, and so on and so forth. So I think that wraps up the premise of everything I needed to say about Absence Tracker, Josh. So you can carry on.
Thank you.
Thank you, Haley. All right, and we're moving on now to our National Hotel Department, which Michael Malul is our chair.
Hello, everyone. So I know when we think about the hotel department, we think of hotels, but another crucial and vital piece to our department is the transportation aspect of Section 6 that's outlined in the JCBA. I really wanted to touch on transportation today, as in the department has seen a large uptick of flight attendant issues and concerns, not only in IROP hotel and transportation issues, but also during allocated normal undisrupted sequences. So right in front of you, you can see the contractual language that's available in Section 6C2. The biggest takeaway I wanted to share here is if you find yourself waiting for that authorized transportation on an overnight that is greater than 10 hours and 30 minutes, contractually, we are only to wait 20 minutes. Alternatively, any overnight such as an ODAN or a shorter layover of 10 hours and 30 minutes, the contractual wait time is 10 minutes. So as you can see in the language in front of us, we are authorized to take that alternative transportation, whether that be a taxi or a ride share option. Josh, we can go to the next slide. So if you find yourself in a situation where you have exceeded those contractual wait times, a couple things can happen. First, the transportation should be paid for by the hotel. So whether you take a taxi or a ride share option, you can go to the hotel to have them reimburse or pay for that ride share and or taxi. Now, it's very likely that you potentially will get kickback on that. Hotels are struggling just as many hospitality industries are. And I think that's another reason why I wanted to highlight transportation. We're seeing a lot of hotels and transportation providers having great difficulty in keeping drivers on, especially for the hours they work, the pay scale that they're on. We're seeing a lot of, no-shows or people leaving and just a struggle with the industry. So that's why we also wanted to highlight this. So if you get the kickback from the hotel, you do have this contractual language in front of you that says the company will reimburse that transportation. Also, they can provide what is said a cab voucher which if you find yourself calling the hotel limo team at the company, they'll often, their rideshare option of preference is an Uber. So how that works is you will have the Uber app either on your new EFB or your personal device. The hotel limo team will send you a pre-authorized voucher code to your AA email. So make sure that is updated. You have easy access while on the line to that AA email. You'll grab that voucher and put it directly into the Uber app, and it will be automatically paid for. Of course, that's the quickest, fastest, and also not ideal situation, taking that rideshare option. You can also hail the cab, have the hotel try to pay. If not, what the language speaks and shows below is we need documentation and receipts. So whether that be photos, screenshots, screen grabs, whatever you can do to prove that you waited either that 10 minutes or 20 minutes, your transportation did not show, that documentation and those receipts are crucial. Also, I wanted to point out, when you have these issues, the reason and the way APFA can address them, resolve them, document them, also add them to our presidential grievance that was filed last summer is through that documentation. So we created a nice, easy link for you. If you go to apfa.org/hotel form, there's a section for hotel issues as well as the transportation issues, and you can attach receipts there to help us fight your case with that documentation for your transportation. Next slide, Josh. As Haley mentioned, the company, as we can tell, is going digital. Right below is the path to the recommended, the fastest preferred method to file for reimbursement for that transportation. If you go to the JetNet flight service page, you will see the old historic form, the paper form that you would historically turn into flight service to get reimbursed. Every base is different. Some bases are taking them, some are not. But this is going to be the way that you can ensure that you get transportation reimbursed the quickest, most efficiently. And just like what Haley spoke about, on the screenshots below, you can see you can start a report, you can upload your receipts, and it keeps a documented digital file of that expense, what you've submitted, and to ensure that you get that reimbursement back. So that's a high level what's going on in transportation and the hotel department. So make sure that you enforce the contractual language, reference these slides, reference section 6. So if you find yourself waiting for transportation longer than 10 minutes for a short overnight or 20 minutes for a long, that you use that language, and these are the protections that are out there to support you. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. And for some of you that have joined late, I just want to remind you that this is recorded. So in case you did not get all the information as we're talking about it, you can always go back and view the recording of the information. So I see we have a few more attendees that have joined, and I just wanted to make sure everyone knew that this was being recorded. Okay, let's move along. And next up, we have Marty McMillan. She is our scheduling chair, and she's going to talk about one of our favorite topics, pay protections.
So, hi, everybody. We have been working for a very long time to streamline the process if someone is removed from a trip or their entire month of flying in error due to a flight service administrative error or a crew scheduling error. Sometimes we see this happen. For instance, if Jeff were to call in sick and they inadvertently put my employee number in for Jeff's sick call, and I wound up losing either a trip or all of my trips for a month. We have always felt that this is not a process for the miss award process, and so we've been working very hard with the company to try to get this streamlined. So one of the things that they've done, if you lose one sequence, there's no requirement to do any kind of balloting to pay protect yourself for the trip. So you just be paid, you file a direct connect, and then they'll follow up with that. And then the next slide is if you lose your entire month or multiple sequences, in that case, you would only ballot for the trips that you lost on the exact same days that you lost them, although you'd be balloting for all positions. And you would let that run through 3 TTS runs. And if you don't get any of your trips back, then you just file the direct connect with the run numbers. If you get your trips back, that's a win-win. You got your trip back. So if you have any questions, though, you can reach out to the contract scheduling team and we'll be happy to talk you through this new process. It's also on JetNet on flight service under crew change.
Thank you, Marty. Thank you. That's a good improvement,
Yes.
to say the least,
Very good.
especially when it's the company's error.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to move on to our contract chair, Jeff Peterson. And definitely this is a hot topic, to say the least. We want to make sure everybody's bidding for a reserve in the right place, right?
Yes. So one of the, first of all, this is like talking about reserve. I know I was talking about like the third rail of
I know.
of flying right now. However, we just want to make sure that those of you who may find yourselves on reserve, we have a lot of new hires who haven't, bid before, and then we also have a lot of people who have been around for a long time who, may not be as familiar with bidding in PBS as far as reserve goes. So if Josh is going to take us to, so this is what your reserve bidding screen looks like, but we're going to take you to Josh's live bid so that we can walk you through exactly which calendar you need to be bidding your reserve days off.
There we go.
Okay, so if this is Josh's dashboard, so if you're bidding on this calendar, if you open your dashboard and you start bidding your reserve days off on this calendar, this is your line holder days off calendar. So this will not, if they're running a reserve bid, it would not capture any reserve days off if you're using only this calendar. So once you reach your dashboard, if you'll go over to your the reserve tab, click on that tab, and this is the calendar that you need to use to bid your reserve days off. And a good indication that you're at the right calendar is you're going to see a little number in the corner of each day of the month. That little number indicates how many reserves the company projects to have at your base on any given day. So that's just a little clue. That's a reference for when you're bidding, that, to give you an indication of your seniority, whether you may, whether you might or might not hold that day off. But that calendar there with those numbers is a good indication. Okay.
Before we go off of this,
Yes.
sorry, I'm going to throw a wrench in here a little bit. Sorry. No, but I think it's really important because I know that we still get a lot of flight attendants who bid their days off on the wrong calendar.
Yeah.
And really honestly, then you get nothing. You have no bid in at all, basically, for your reserve days. But while we're here, on this page, it says waive to allow carryover to be days off.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry I didn't bring this up, but I think with all the new bidders we have, it's important for them to understand what that is.
Yes. So that is a waiver. So for example, so this month, let's see, what's July?
We're in June.
We're in June. So if I have a trip as a line holder that carries into my reserve month, let's say I have a trip that departs on June 30th. That's a 3-day that goes into July 2nd being the first day of the contractual month. I can waive that time to go on top of my guarantee. So whatever hours go into July, I could waive to have that time go on top of my guarantee. If I do waive that, that means that day, any day that on reserve that trip touches within my reserve month would be automatically a day off. So just if you want the time on top of your guarantee, you can waive that. If you don't waive it, that will be considered a reserve day, and that time would go towards your reserve calling out of time or towards your guarantee. Yeah.
Thanted you.
Does that cover everything you wanted me to say?
Yes, while we're there, I do think that's a really important button to waiver, I
Yes.
should say, to point out.
And I think another thing to add is, like, once you add that bid, it's a yes or no thing. You don't need to keep clicking it on, just one time you add the bid and that will waive it for the month.
Perfect. Thanks.
So the next slide is talking about reserve bubble bidding. Anytime you're on reserve, it is recommended that you also have a line holder bid input, just in case there are instances where the company may need to make a few more line holders that might need to move some reserves to line holder status. It doesn't happen that often, but if it does happen, we just want to make sure that you have a line holder bid in that the system will read. So best practice would be to enter a 7-layer line holder bid on the layer tab. Barring that, we recommend you also maintain an up-to-date standing bid. And by up-to-date, I mean make sure that you are looking at what trips are populating every single month, because there is seasonal flying. So on a standing bid, you can only bid generically. So if I'm bidding generically for a trip or a destination that is not at my particular base that month, for example, that wouldn't be captured by PBS because you're bidding something that doesn't exist. Departure times change. So just make sure you're maintaining an up-to-date standing bid. And then if for some reason you don't have a standing bid or a current bid, the default award logic would be used for your line holder bid. So best practice, do both. If you're on reserve, make sure you put in a line holder bid every single time.
Thank you. Nothing new. That's not anything new. We've been teaching that for quite a while, but, and when they do move them up on the 15th, right, or before they start the PBS run, a lot of that is because the number of line holders has changed, and the number of line holders has changed because we have flight attendants who've gone out on medical, or for other reasons. So it's not normally that many, but it does happen every once in a while. Okay. All right. Thank you, Jeff. Okay, we're moving on now to Deb McCormick, who is our FDAP specialist.
Hi, I want to talk a little bit about the flight attendant drug and alcohol program, which also is an add-on to the APFA EAP program. So the flight attendant drug and alcohol program is an FAA-sponsored program which provides substance abuse prevention, early intervention, recovery support for flight attendants. It offers a range of resources, and if you have the opportunity to jump on to the FDAP website, it's www.fadap.org. You're going to find a lot of different resources. Some of them is alcohol information, drug information. One, I just really want to talk a little bit about also, it provides mental health information as well as these screening tools, which are, it was the first occupational screening tool developed, which was for flight attendants ever. And, we're sort of proud of that. So we have an alcohol screening tool and a drug screening tool, and we recommend screening like we do for everything else annually. Over 1 in 5 individuals in their lifetime will experience a mental health disorder, as well as 74% at some point in your life will have a substance use disorder. It might be just abusing alcohol, but something. So this offers a range. So if we go to the next slide, we have a live answering service for flight attendants who want to get assistance or their family members. And all they do is they call into this number, 855-333-2327, identify themselves as an American Airlines flight attendant, and they're going to be patched over to the APFA representative that's FDAP trained or myself. And so you're never going to lose that call. Next slide. I also want to talk about for flight attendants that are saying, well, maybe I have an issue. I really would like to talk to other flight attendants about it. We have meetings that are open to all flight attendants. And it could be an American Airlines flight attendant, it could be United, it could be SkyWest, and they're scheduled on Wednesday and Sunday at 5 o'clock. So, come one, come all, just join us. We, talk about life being a flight attendant and how sometimes there is a struggle when you're starting early recovery. So that's about it. Thank you.
Thanks, Deb. How many airlines
We have
use FDAP?
28 airlines that use FDAP. We've got 4 international airlines because it's FAA sponsored. We have 4 international airlines or organizations that are trying to develop their own FDAP program within their country. So,
Very good. And I think it's really important also, you said it earlier, is this is not just for the flight attendant, it is also for the family members.
Absolutely.
So really important.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Thanks, Deb.
You're welcome.
Okay, we're moving on to DE&I committee, and we have Rhonda Curtright on, who is one of our committee leads on this in this program.
All right. Hi, everybody. It is Pride Month, and just wanted to remind everybody of what a rich history we have working together for women's rights, gay, lesbian, and now LGBTQ plus liberation movement. So we've made it through so much together. We continue to support one another, and this is why celebrating Pride Month is so important to us. Next slide, Josh. So this is just a quick reminder of all that we've been through. We have been through a lot. So flight attendants have been unionized for a reason, and we have to stand up and be heard for change to happen. We have needed to fight for things to change that are not okay. This is a lot right here. So we are listening and advocating for change. Next slide, Josh. This is Virgin Atlantic. This is an Instagram photo, and they have already taken steps, given space for self-expression. So we're advocating and listening wherever we can to change things that flight attendants want. Over 100 million people in the US have tattoos. We don't need to hide them. And just a reminder, we want you guys to join us. Please reach out to us. We look forward to working together, supporting each other in our efforts. And we just want to thank everybody for all your input that you've given us so far. And we look forward to hearing from you soon.
Thank you, Rhonda. I know you guys are doing great work. Your meetings are very good. I wish I could attend more of them. Unfortunately, I've been a little busy through some of them, but I know they've been well attended. And please, we're hoping that more flight attendants will join the calls. Okay, next we're moving on to IOD, and Belia Pexon, our IOD chair, is here.
Hi, everyone. Today I'd like to go over IOD James injured on duty denial. And Sedgwick is the administrator for the first airline. So they are obligated and required to notify claim denied. So if you feel, or you or your doctor feel that your claim has been wrongfully denied, you contact the Workers' Compensation Commission in the state where your claim is from. And they will advise you on how to dispute a claim. And they may also recommend a little bit of an attorney. Some states, you don't need an attorney. However, it is a good idea to call them. And also on the next slide, these are other examples that you may want to contact the state, such as denying medical treatment, such as surgery, tests, and also in some states they can lower your weekly benefits depending on the type of restrictions they place on you. So if you don't agree with them lowering your rate of pay, you can also go to the Workers' Comp Commission, and inadequate medical care.
Thanks, Belia. And most importantly, if you have any questions about the IOD, please contact Belia and her team. They are excellent subject matter experts on everything about IOD.
Thank you.
Thank you, Belia. Okay, next up we have safety, and we have Vivian Stubblefield on with us today. And she's going to go through a few items in our safety department.
Hey everyone. So first of all, I'd like to kind of address the emails that have gone out from the company regarding KCM and London liquids, aerosols, and gels, commonly referred to as LAGs violations, both of which are at a pretty surprising rate. So as a result, the company is doing a couple of different audits, both regarding KCM for personal international travel and stationing managers in London to observe the screening checkpoints. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to cover a couple of things that you should know. So since the company is doing the audit of personal international travel, they're going through at random and kind of screening to see who's used KCM versus, you know, the PNR that they have, and if it has any D designation, be it D1, D2, or anything like that. So, you know, a couple of commonly asked questions are when you can use KCM. Basically, only if you're working a trip internationally, you can use it if you're coming back into the country. That being said, if you commute internationally, there's no way for the company to verify when you exited the secured area to go back through regular screening. So it's just advised that if you have a sequence and you plan on commuting internationally or leaving for a trip or whatever, just don't use KCM that last day of your sequence. That way, if your name is pulled in an audit, you don't have to have a conversation with your FSM to kind of explain what happened with that. And all of the rules regarding KCM can be found on the website. It's hyperlinked on the slide. And as far as London, there will be a video playing on the crew buses kind of explaining what you need to know about the screening process and best practices. Something that people commonly forget is that if you have food for personal consumption, that has to be in a bag separate from your lag bag. They can both be placed in the same bin for screening, they just can't be in the same bag. Again, all your electronic devices should be in a separate bin from everything else. And if you happen to go through and an officer writes your name in the book for additional screening based on food for personal consumption that technically exceeds the limit, you should definitely reach out to your base president. That way it can be clarified with your FSM if they call you in for a meeting. And again, with London, everything can be found in the destination folder on your EFB. And then as far as daily ops goes, we've gotten multiple reports of lack of timely assistance or misinformation being given to flight attendants. So in an effort to abate that, we encourage you to reach out to us directly so that we can provide you with the correct information before you make that call or be on the phone with you while you make it. You can call us at the APFA main number or send us an email and we will call you back.
Thank you, Vivian. Okay, we also have on Patty Venable today. She is our Cabin ASAP rep, and she's going to give us a little information about Cabin ASAP.
Hey guys, yeah, I'm Patty Venables, one of your primary representatives on your Cabin ASAP event review committee. Also have on the call here Barrington Johnson. He's our alternate who fills in some. And just wanted to give a quick reminder that it's a proactive, confidential, and voluntary reporting program that is for identifying any safety concerns or violations happening out there on the line so we can track them. So remember, it's out there. You can get to it on the Flight Service website under Safety and Security.
Thank you, Patty. Okay, and we have the other Cabin ASAP rep on also, as well as he is our ACT-ARC representative, and that is Barrington Johnson.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. ACTAR, Air Carrier Training Aviation Rulemaking Committee. That's a lot of words. And basically what we do is we formulate training for all flight attendants within the United States. We just completed a project which took 2.5 years. And basically what it is a de-escalation program. It's coming through the FAA where all flight attendants, no matter the size of airplane you're on, from one flight attendant on up, will have to have this training. It's a training how to de-escalate situations on the ground or in the air on your flights. Part of the committee is made up of FAA inspectors, members of A4A, Flight Attendants Union, Flight Attendants doctors, including psychologists, engineers, and FAA pilots. So it's a well-rounded group, and this is just what you're seeing on the screen right now is what will be coming up for us. We're making presentations to members of A4A, which is the carriers, the presidents, vice presidents, and CEOs. We're going to the regional carriers, and we'll be going to mainline carriers and everything. So the training departments, everyone will be aware of this program, and they will have to enact it within their recurrent or CQT training. So look forward to seeing more about this, about de-escalation training for all flight attendants. Thanks.
Thank you, Barrington. Okay, next up, we have our retirement department chair on. That is Kim Tack, I should say specialist. And I know Kim has many town halls out there. I think she probably leads everyone here on the number of town halls that she has done over the past 1.5 years. So thank you, Kim, for doing that. I know we have a lot of flight attendants always attending those town halls.
Hi, I'm Kim Tuck, the retirement specialist and a DFW-based flight attendant. Just wanted to put up a little bit of information about the demographics of our flight attendant group and how that relates to retirement and retirement planning in particular. So this is one of the most popular slides in our presentation, and we always have people trying to take a screenshot of it with their camera and everything. So I thought I'd use this as kind of a segue in up to a little bit of discussion about retirement planning, no matter where you are in your career. So if you can see, our largest group of flight attendants, 11,000 plus, is over age 55 and could potentially retire now. That's why the retirement department is so busy, and it's such a kind of important part of what APFA is going to be doing over the next few years. Discussing retirement planning is important to all of us, even though we may have just started our careers. And I know we all thought we were going to do this job 2 years and then maybe move on to something else. But like me, many of us are here still 30 years later doing the job and still enjoying it, in fact. So the next largest group is the people that are 35 and under. So that's another approximately, gosh, how many is it? 7,121 people 35 and under. So we got to think about the people that are close to retirement, and on the other hand, the people that are just starting out their retirement planning process. So as a unionized work group, it's very important for us to make sure that we have options other than just Social Security available to us when we retire. And that's why we want to mention our 401k planning and other retirement planning, because we're all going to retire eventually. So you have to think about certain things at the beginning of your career. The basics are just signing up for your 401k contributions and making sure you try and increase them as often as possible. An important and easy way to do that is just what we like to call set it and forget it. You can go into the Fidelity website and you can set up an arrangement so that every year when your pay increases, your 401k contributions will increase. And that's a really smart thing to do. A lot of people that do that from the beginning of their career retire as what we call 401k millionaires. So wouldn't we all want to be one of those? If you're closer to retirement age or just that place in your career, we have some suggestions about what you want to do if you're thinking about retiring soon. You know, perhaps consulting with the financial planner and thinking about whether you need to be more conservative or more aggressive in your investments. Also, wanted to let you know that the credit union does offer financial services, financial planning services for free. So that's a good option. We like free things. Also, if you're in the middle of your career, just making sure you monitor your investments and pay attention to what they're doing, and maybe educate yourself about your investment options and what's going to be best for you. So we have a lot of suggestions, and if you need more information, please give us a call. Retirement@apfa.org is our email, or the extension at the APFA phone line is extension 8490. So then the main number is 817-540-0108. And also, I just wanted to mention, wrap things up, that we are in negotiations, and what happens now in negotiations could affect your retirement benefits eventually when you retire. So it's very important to stay involved in the negotiations process and to let your negotiators know what your priorities are. Because if you want your 401k contribution from the company to be increased, if you want to perhaps get some sort of health benefit that's going to carry us over to Medicare to compensate for what we lost in bankruptcy, the only way to get those is through negotiation. So pay attention to what's going on in negotiation, wear your union pin, and let your negotiators know what priorities are important to you. And that's about it for retirement today.
Thank you, Kim, and thank you for that negotiations plug. I'm really excited. And you can go on to the negotiation status update. We do have under our opener there what we are proposing in the benefits section of our contract. So thank you for that. If you look there and you see that we're already looking to increase the contribution for the company, you don't need to send us an email. We definitely have already got you on that one. So there's quite a few on there. So please, we'll go through that a little bit later. Thanks, Kim, for all that information. And again, I know she didn't say it, but there's lots of town halls on the website. So if you're thinking about retiring, definitely take a look at one of those first, I would say, before calling Kim. Okay, let's move on to our National Ballot Committee. And we have Adam Brooks on today, who is our MBC chair.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning into the town hall today. Lots of important information. Not a whole lot to share from the National Balloting Committee other than we are currently running a special election in our San Francisco base to fill the remaining term for vice president. We have some information there on the screen. If there's any San Francisco members on the town hall today, there's some important dates for you to note on there. We will be conducting the ballot count next week at the Aloft Hotel in Euless with our partners at Yes Elections. And again, I've said it a few other times, this is our first time working with Yes Elections, our new vendor. We're very excited. They've been a great partner to work with so far, even though this is a smaller election. They've been really great. So those are some important notes on the current status of what we're working on. So thanks for tuning in today. That's all I have.
Adam, when's the next election after this one? When's our base president and vice president election?
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. So it's going to be a very busy, possibly end of the year. If we get a contract, we would be voting on something like that. We also have the ad hocs, which are the executive committee, and then the base elections you just mentioned. That all takes place next spring. So the election process would be late winter, I guess you could say. The ballots and willingness to serve and all of that would go out late winter, and the election would take place in March. So it's going to be very busy for us next year. And one thing too, always make sure, remember, to vote, you have to be dues current. So it's important you keep up on making sure that you are dues eligible. You can do that on the website. You can contact the dues department within APFA. And yeah, just make sure you're current. You want to make sure you can vote in your elections. You've got a voice in who you get to vote for to represent at your base election, our national officers, and of course, the contract when hopefully that comes out eventually soon. Take care.
Thank you, Adam.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a couple of questions. We're going to go to those first before we go to contract action. And one is for our health rep, Haley. And Haley, we've had a lot of calls and conversations. I know health department is getting them about our flight attendants who are testing positive, COVID positive. And I know the company just recently made a change to this as far as it no longer qualifying under pandemic leave. But there has been another recent update, and I'm going to let you talk about that.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Julie. I'm glad that you brought it up and remembered because we are, in fact, getting tons of calls about this, so thank you. So obviously they did away with pandemic leave on April 4th. Extremely unfortunate. They, I think, believe that they're throwing us a bone now, allowing us to be able to utilize FMLA. But in order to make that absence non-punitive, if we're going to need time off for COVID, it's worth jumping through the hoops to do so. So at this point in time, they have said that going in absence tracker and utilizing FMLA for COVID specifically can look like just uploading your positive COVID test results. But the tangent would be that you have to have the proctored positive test results. So you certainly can go see your doctor. The likelihood is probably low. The doctor probably does not want you in their office. But a proctored test would also look like going to the pharmacy. So if a pharmacist is viewing me taking that COVID test, that would be considered proctored as well. So doctor's office test or pharmacy test, those are considered proctored and eligible for FMLA. So they will process FMLA just based on those results after you've created your case in absence tracker.
Great, thank you. I know that was that is a change I think went in at the end of May, and we have been in discussions with the company probably since April 4th regarding, we do disagree with them removing the pandemic leave at this time, and we especially disagree with you getting a point for that. This is their answer to us is, okay, we're making it easier for you to get family leave by just providing a positive, COVID positive test. So wanted to make sure that got out there. Thanks, Haley. Next, looks like this is Jeff and Marty. And I agree with it. I'm glad this flight attendant sent this question. It says, it should be reiterated that when you are on reserve, it is 2 hours to arrive at the airport. I want to know why we are being, by default, assessed an late code, or LR, when exercising the 2-hour call-out time and then having to dispute it with an AFSM.
So I'll take that question. So yeah, that is a programming thing that has been done by crew scheduling. We have asked them to review that with us. We continually talk to them about this. It sends an email to your FSM, who is then supposed to be removing the late report if you are given a trip in which you have less than 2 hours to your report time. So it's an auto-generated thing, and it's something I wish they would make go away, but we haven't been successful in getting them to do that yet. So please follow up with your base reps. Anytime you're on your reserve month, though, you should always be checking your HI-10 to check and see if you've been assessed any late reports, especially if you know you've been given a call out that was less than 2 hours to the scheduled report time of the trip. Just a good practice to get into.
Thanks, Marty. Or obviously it could be 3 hours also, depending on where you're based.
That's without saying.
Yeah, I definitely agree with whoever sent this question in. We all don't think it's right that you should have to have that taken off. They should not be putting it on there in the first place. Okay, that is it for our questions, but I do want to talk about a little bit about the contract action team. Josh, if we can put those QR codes up there. You may have seen quite a few flight attendants out there wearing the red badge backer that says Contract Action Team. And on the back of it are 2 QR codes. One is to sign up for the Contract Action Team. And what does that really mean? I know when I talk to flight attendants commuting back and forth, they're like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. And I go, listen, it's just staying up to date, staying informed on what is happening at negotiations. So it's really easy for you to do that today. We send out a hotline after we meet with the company to tell you what we've proposed or what their response has been to us in that session. And also, we're always updating our negotiation status page on our website. And it's just keeping up on that information and talking to your flight attendants when you're on the jump seat next to them, asking if they're paying, if they're reading any of the information, or just talking about the latest hotline and what we were able to achieve or what the company's response is. It's as simple as that. We'd like an Army. We're going to ask you, of course, to participate in more action items coming up soon. So we'd like to get as many signed up for this contract action team as possible. And the QR code is the easiest way to do it. Josh, do you want to go to the website really quick and let's show them on the website also how else you can sign up. The other QR code is also to get you directly to the negotiations webpage. So if you click on that on your phone, it'll take you right to the negotiations page of our website. And as you can see here on our page, we have hotlines. We have the negotiation status update. We have our contract action team, and that's where you can sign up. And then we have some history so you can understand how negotiations work. We realize this is the first negotiations for a lot of our members. I should say this is the first Section 6 negotiations, much different than our last negotiations. So we really wanted our flight attendants to understand this process. And then, of course, the last tab is contact the committee. And we do get your emails. We've been responding to those, hopefully all of them. I know we're getting quite a few here and there, sometimes on the same topic, but we definitely always try and answer every email we get. Josh, do you want to quickly go to the negotiation status page? And let's just show them what this looks like. Scroll down. I believe Kim was talking about negotiations. And if you go right here, you can see our opener. And let's just go over to the insurance section 26 and do the drop down. And kind of there are just the bullet points about some of the topics that we will be proposing, okay? Definitely reach out to us. That's what we want to do. We want to hear from you as much as we possibly can. Also here you can see our open sections that we have been working on. We have quite a few tabled sections. That means that we have gone back and forth with the company, and there's usually 1 or 2 items in that section that we do not agree and that there's no movement, so we just table that section for now. And then we have, I believe, 16 tentative agreements. So we're actually moving along quite well. We've opened up almost every section of the contract except for reserve and then our economic sections. So we are currently in negotiations. We are working on our scheduling system. So you'll see a hotline from us very soon. But please stay informed, keep up to date on what's happening at negotiations. Email us. We're here for you. That's the reason we're in negotiations. This is for the membership. This is all of our contract, and it's important that all of us stay informed and part of the process. So with that, I think we've covered every topic. I think we've almost come in under an hour.
We have a couple questions.
Oh, we've got a couple more questions. I only see this. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed those up above. All right, that's my bad. Oh, okay. I'll answer the first one. The first question is, when are you going to do something about the hotel limo mess? So we do have a grievance that was filed after the pilot grievance. It's been over a year. Actually, it's been about a year. And I will say our SBA department is working on that grievance. We have the arbitrator for it picked out, and we're just waiting to have a date sent for that arbitration. Not to say that doesn't mean that we're not working on it every day. Definitely Michael Malul with our hotel department is always working on any issues with hotels, as well as myself and our Vice President, Larry, are constantly working with the company. I'm trying to get them to realize the importance of us making sure that we have a hotel in a timely manner. Where we're seeing the biggest issues with this is when we have rescheduling or cancellations, and that's when we see our flight attendants sitting around waiting way too long to get a hotel, and sometimes never. So we're working on it. The presidential grievance has been filed, and now we actually have an arbitrator picked for this. Next should be very quickly, we should have a date for this grievance. Next question, when will the new contract be implemented? Well, we first have to get a new contract. We have to get all the way through negotiations. We are moving along. It's hard to give you an exact date as to when we will be finished with negotiations and we'll have a tentative agreement. But I can tell you that we are moving along. Like I said, we are currently working on scheduling. After scheduling, we will move on to reserve. And then after reserve, we will move on to our economic sections, which is compensation, expenses, and then also our benefits. So we actually have made a lot of progress, but we still have a ways to go on this. So please stay informed. We really need you to keep up to date on what we have already negotiated for you. Let's see here. Okay, and this was a helpful fact. So thank you, whoever submitted this. Concur is available as an app on our iPhone EFB through the self-service portal. Great. Thank you so much for that. Let's see. Okay. And we have a question here. It looks like for contract scheduling. I have 2 global entry receipts that I need to submit to get reimbursed. And I tried to do a bit of research and can't seem to figure out how to use Concur, as there is no place for me to add an expense report.
That's a very good question, Julie. I'll take it. It's been a long time since I did global entry, so I had to actually, while we were sitting here, I did a little bit of research to find out and I had to reach out to phone a friend to find out where we go. So if you would go to flight service, this is actually, you don't submit reimbursement for global entry in Concur. There's a form on the flight service website that we use. So if you go to the flight service website, and on the left-hand side of the flight service website, you have kind of the menu of options. And if you go down to the 4th option, which is the flight attendant service center. This is actually.
Hang on 1 second. Is Josh, are you going to it? Let's let him catch up.
Okay, while he's catching up, I was just going to say that under the flight service center is where we have a lot of our resources as far as information for leaves and just general things that, we interact with on a daily basis with the company. So leave information, attendance policy, jury duty, jump seat policies, reciprocal travel agreements. There's a lot of resources on that part of flight service. And there we are. Almost. That's okay.
That's our Wi-Fi. There we go.
There we go. So Josh is going to click on the flight attendant service center there on the left-hand side. And then on the right-hand side where it says travel information, there's a purser and visa information, passport and visa information. I've been thinking a lot about pursers today.
Oh, yeah.
Passport and visa information. So if you click on that, and then it walks you through obtaining a passport, blah, blah, blah. So if you go all the way down to, there's a section on reimbursements, and there's a passport. So under reimbursements, number 3, all the way, it's almost at the very bottom of this document, there's a passport visa reimbursement form, which turns out that's also a global entry reimbursement form. I didn't know that instinctively. I didn't click on that link, and so I was calling, I was phoning a friend. I was like, where do I find this link? So anyway, there's a form that you file at base, and there's a coordinator, and they're all listed at the bottom with their phone number for each of the bases. So fill out this form, submit your receipts, send it to that, give it to that coordinator, and that's how you get your reimbursement.
Not easy to find.
No, not easy at all.
Okay, maybe that's a quick little hotline, right? Small little hotline.
Well, also it's something to follow up with the company and say, hey, make that link a little more visible.
Right.
And also.
And say global entry.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Well, okay, Jeff, you're tasked with that.
I've got a little.
It's on your to-do list. Okay, great. Do we have Patty Venables still on? Barrington?
They're still on.
Okay, great. Okay, so we have a question for ASAP. It says, I've been advised from a flight attendant that ASAP reports are also for general reporting to the FAA, such as the company FAR violations during boarding or illegal duty periods. Can we get clarification on this?
Yeah, this is Patty. It's for any general safety concerns or self-committed violations. It's not for telling on other flight attendants or reporting what others do, but if it's a self violation or a safety concern you see while you're on duty, then yes, it's a good avenue for that. An FAA representative, it's their program. And we have a FAA representative always sitting on the ERC, the Event Review Committee, so they would see it, yes.
Okay, great. Thanks, Patty.
Anything to add, Barrington?
No, I was going to say, as Patty stated, if it's specific to that flight attendant, we will pull their schedule to see it, to make sure that, where they're claiming the violation occurred, we will look at their schedule or sequence.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's see here. All right, and I see a couple questions regarding negotiations. One is asking for changes to the reserve system. The other one is about being able to pick up trips out of base. And I would say if you can go to the website for that information, we will have another town hall on that. Our town hall, we did talk about actually picking up trips out of base. That is, it's very specific as to when, but that is in there. And also our changes to our reserve system. We do have bullet points in our reserve section as to what we're planning on. We may add more. We may change it up a little bit. And I do believe that we may see another survey specifically to the rotation system itself, and probably just about that. Before we get to that part, we really want to make sure we're in tune with our membership and see where everybody's at. We know there are lots of opinions out there as to what we need in a reserve system. So we are planning on another very short, very specific survey or poll on that. Let's see here. I've got a couple more. Okay, Haley, if you're still on, this is for the health department. The company is telling all COVID positive flight attendants to file for family leave. But for a while, these were denied because it wasn't a chronic issue. Are these now being approved, and are they still denying them after having managers tell people to apply? So I think, I'm trying to remember, I believe the date this changed was May 28th. Is that correct?
I want to say May 26th, but in the
Okay.
same ballpark. Yeah,
Okay.
we don't know what necessarily the change of heart was. I believe it might have been more from a litigation standpoint. I think the FMLA standards sort of shifted to encompass COVID versus the company maybe just taking the initiative to do so. But we do know that they are approving them now. We do say if for some reason anyone is denied in totality for FMLA or even in some partial sequence, missing certain dates that they've applied for, to let us know so we can look into it.
Thank you, Haley. Okay, this next one is near and dear to my heart. Oh, I will tell you, this is something that I feel like we've been fighting forever. It's scheduling hold times, and this flight attendant says they are still ridiculous, and I agree. I recently advised them that my crew and I are illegal, and I was placed on a lengthy hold. Anything being done about this? I can definitely tell you part of negotiations is electronic notification. It has been agreed to in our deadheading section when you want to change your deadhead. And we are working on that currently for you to be able to change that yourself. But also we want that to be an electronic notification. We don't want you sitting on the phone just to notify them that you're taking a different deadhead. We've also agreed to, when it comes to our voluntary extensions, that should also be electronic from the flight attendants. That we should be able to say yes or no without having to be on the phone with you. So regarding you being illegal, we are in scheduling today. I believe you will see a combination of where we feel it's necessary that our flight attendants do not need positive contact. Electronic means to be available to our flight attendants. So that is definitely part of our conversations. Okay. All right. Okay. We have a question here. Is the union or the company responsible for the reciprocal jump seat agreement for other airlines? And Jeff, do you want to handle that?
Yeah, in JCBA Section 37, paragraph H, we actually have a paragraph of language on reciprocal cabin seat agreements that says the company may participate in them. So the company, gets to negotiate that with the other airlines. However, if you have, the language also allows for progress reviews on that. So if you have any feedback on that, please feel free to send it to me, contract@apfa.org. I can, in our reviews with the company on reciprocal jump seats, we can take anything that you have to the company. So it's really, the company it's in their court, the ball.
And we can work on it.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely remember in our past, if we had issues with that, the contractor usually would work on that.
Yeah.
So please, if there's a reciprocal agreement that you don't have or that you don't see, contact Jeff. At contract@apfa.org. Yeah. Okay, then I have one more here. It says, we are the only legacy that makes pursers by seniority rather than merit. Is there a plan to change this method? I will say there is definitely a plan for us to make sure we get more of our flight attendants qualified as purser that want to be. We are very careful though when it comes to negotiating something like this. We also don't want this to turn into a process where certain people can get into the program and others can't because if it's an interview and depending on who's interviewing you. So most likely it will stay by seniority, but I will say we are definitely increasing the number per year that are qualified. And we want to make sure that we have more than enough pursers in all of our bases, not reserves, pursers. And then this is the last one. And it's not a question, but a comment. And that's how it's written. This is such a great thing for flight attendants. Everyone looks great. So thank you very much, whoever sent that in. We really appreciate that. I will tell you today, I asked everyone to keep it pretty short. We want to keep these to about an hour at the most and give you time to ask questions. I know you're always inundated by our hotlines, our town halls, and we're trying to give you as much information as we can. And I have to say, while I'm bringing that up, we are changing our website. You've seen today the negotiations page, but we really are changing the website to be more interactive with you on the job. So it should be done by October, correct, Josh? Josh and his team is working on that. And I'm hoping that this is going to be a new resource for you that you can go to when you have a question about deadheading. I mean, I think there is so much that isn't out there for our flight attendants that we really need to make it very accessible for you. So we're looking forward to that. It's not an easy change, though. I can tell you that it's been a lot of work by their team. And it does, I wanted it to happen in 6 months. I think Josh just kind of, kicked me a few times and said, that's not going to happen in 6 months. It's a lot of work. And I see that now. Basically, the team has gone through all the hotlines, tried to get out as much information as we can for you so that when you're looking for something, let's say you're out on a trip and you have a situation, pay protection, rescheduling, deadheading, we want you to easily be able to go to the website and easily find that information. So we look forward to getting that to you as soon as possible. With that, that is it. We've answered all the questions. Oh, I see one more. Are COVID absences paid or do they use sick time? They are using sick time. The paid pandemic leave is now gone. So it is your sick time. So, all right. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're really happy you joined us. Please share the information with your friends. Tell them to go find the recording on our website. And please stay informed and fly safely. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.